Welcome to Wolf Brothers podcast. Today we are speaking with Barry Adamson. Barry is a leadership and creator coach. He is a certified breathwork facilitator, holistic lifestyle coach from the Chek Institute, and he also provides workshops with Wolf Academy. Barry is passionate about men's work and in particular working with younger men. Barry, welcome to Wolf Brothers podcast.
Hmm. Thank you, Cormac. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me on today. I'm looking forward to, having a conversation and seeing what comes.
Cheers, Barry.
Hmm.
I'm excited to have you on because I think you seem to have this real passion and drive for life as well as men's work. And I think just being in your presence is, healing in that sense, just for that kind of energy you bring into whatever you're doing. So, yeah, it's great to have you on to talk a bit about what you do and a bit about your own journey and some of the work that you do with men.
Hmm.
So I suppose just to start off, I wanted to ask you, what was the moment for you, or maybe it was a series of moments, but what was the moment for you that turned things around in your life to start stepping into this type of work?
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that question comes and feels like there was many moments along the way that um encouraged that created that made that happen. Um, but I can definitely say it was always within me and always in me. But let's say back when I was 18 or 19, um, really seeing the world through a different lens of something's something doesn't seem right here. What we've been prescribed by society in how to live and be, and this is this is life, this prescription of life you're given to do this and then that and then da da da. I was like, no. That doesn't feel like the way at all for me anyway. Um, and from there was just a deep desire to know my own way and to realize myself or to realize what other possibilities there could be in life and in this life and follow that instinctual full blast inner knowing that that's not it. There has to be and there is. Yeah, another way to live and to be and so this seeker within me of wanting to know more and explore life and experiment with life and experience more was born then. And it was like, okay, um let's run with it, let's go with it. And this work of, I suppose, living a healthy, happy, what feels like fulfilling successful life is is this direction um that I'm going and that I want to create and for everybody to be in and to go in this direction and whatever that looks like for any given man, woman, child, or whoever it is. But yeah, I just kept following my little inspirations, the little passions, the breadcrumbs, the threads that were presenting themselves to me. Yeah,
Mm.
I would say that. Yeah. Also, I could probably say something else may come, and if you ask me that next week, to some degree.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cheers. Yeah, I like that. It's interesting how you just had that realization at that age because I think, and maybe maybe there was a moment where you were kind of forced into that change or that way of seeing things differently. But for a lot of people, they get stuck in that way of thinking that this is just how life is and this is what you have to do or this is what you're supposed to do and this is the path that we're all given and we don't really question it. But for a lot of people, it seems to be this point that they hit when, out of desperation, they decide they need to change something or something needs to change. And sometimes we refer to these as like midlife crises, but they can happen at any age.
Mm.
I suppose mine was more when I was working in that IT job for nearly 3 years and just one day just having the realization that what the fuck am I doing? Um, but yeah, I suppose in terms of your teenage years, then like I think you've spoke before about um, some of maybe the struggles that you faced and what was it in those teenage years that what struggles did you face back then?
Yeah, I've spoken to this before, and I'm always happy to share. I'm happy to share with teens when I'm speaking to them, and boys and men, because I feel like there's many similar struggles shared. But what I can say for me is, yeah, coming into them teenage years, not really knowing what to do, um, what was the right way, as I've said, feeling like there was no guidance, or even that I was being misguided, and so what felt like the thing to do, and what was, I suppose, as I said, prescribed by society, what was around me, what was the norm, I could say, was, you know, going into drinking and then that leading to drugs and the party scene and all of that life and what that brings, and then in overall not looking after myself or not even being inspired to tap into who I am, why I'm here. Yeah, what is this life all about, and what am I supposed to do here? And I feel like just this going with the crowd and going with what's supposed to be done, or what I think is supposed to be done, or what I think is cool, or what I think is accessible. Then when I say that, it feels like there is not a lot of things that are actually accessible for a young person, a teenager to experience or experiment with or explore or adventure in. It's like there is a limiting amount of things that are out there for a young person to engage in or to know, or there's only so much we're taught and shown. Um, but yeah, the common culture of party scene, drinking, drugging, and then ending up getting involved in all of that at a deeper level, mm, which I also see happen so often. And yeah, fighting and violence and yeah, criminality, I suppose, to some degree, you could say, of robbing, stealing, selling drugs. And yeah, I feel like there's this urge to just be a bit wild and free and want to let that child within me free and be expressed. And that definitely plays, them two definitely play hand in hand. It's like this massive surge of energy when I'm coming into puberty and the testosterone is flowing and everything is flowing. It's like, oh. And then there's definitely an underlying frustration and anger of the lack of guidance in my life, the lack of guidance in this world, and the lack of places to be able to express that energy that I just speak about, and the frustration of the world not feeling like it's, yeah, meeting that. Um, so they all connect in together and create this way in which I lived and then faced struggles and challenges in all of that, because I was living in stress and regret and confusion and frustration and yeah, not understanding or knowing myself or being able to be yeah, calm and comfortable in my own skin.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. And something that came to me there when you were speaking about the that wild energy that comes up maybe when we're in puberty and we're moving into manhood and we have all this energy and you didn't have the guidance of where to put that, so you went towards alcohol and drugs and the party scene, and maybe you found that kind of sense of camaraderie or connection, but after a while I suppose it obviously just didn't satisfy you when you started looking towards your own path. Like, wait, what do I actually want? um,
Mm.
but one thing that I love about you when you go into the schools is that kind of fiery energy, that wildness that you still have, but it's just directed in a different, it's directed
Mm.
in a healthy way now towards creativity and expression. And I think you can you can see how the younger generations, the teenagers, really relate to you because you have that kind of like energy that maybe they're coming into, and you're still living that. And I think it's very refreshing to see that, because I think sometimes we can move into adulthood and kind of let go of that childlike or that kind of young, youthful, vibrant energy. So I know just even from talking to other men that I think that's what you really bring, that kind of youthful energy, and it's just it's infectious in a good way. So I think it's so important to school tends to maybe want to kind of quash that energy. And I was in a school recently, I already spoke about this, and the lads were a bit wild, and like the teachers was like, calm down and stop, and it's all like suppression of this energy, which is understandable because they are in a school environment. It doesn't allow for that. But I think the work that we do in Wolf Academy and bringing you in for the workshops, like, you really get the people to express that energy, whether it's the primary school students or the teenagers. And I think it's such an important point that we're missing. And I'd nearly prefer to see young lads with that fucking wild, fiery energy than a young lad who's quiet and shut down. Now, it's okay being quiet. I was quiet myself, but if you're shut down and it's kind of like you've nearly given up and you've lost that sense of spark, that's worse to see. It's very hard to work with that, but at least with the fiery energy, you can kind of guide that and direct that. So yeah, I really see that in you. And yeah, in terms of working with young people now, having gone through your own experience, how do you help bring that unique potential out of them?
Mm. Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you
Mm.
for all of those lovely words and for seeing me. Yeah. Um, and for bringing me on into Wolf Academy and allowing me to be in that space to actually dial them two little things together and be like, fuck, yeah, this is really something. And recognize that in myself too. Um, that that can be brought through. I suppose a couple of things that come to me when you say that is like this, yeah, the expression and the suppression of the expression and the suppression of my expression in my life, and it being kind of slipped down, and this innocence also, and this ability and part of us that just wants to play and be like a kid again, um, and really allowing that to come through in the expression as well, hand in hand with the expression of the wildness and all these different forms of expressions that want to come through. I just when you're saying that there, it came to my mind again about something I was speaking into the other day. I had this conversation. I was having a conversation with somebody, and it was a really giddy, playful conversation. And yeah, within that, I just started burst out laughing, and I was laughing away to myself, and it was kind of at nothing, and it was like, "Oh, what are you laughing at?" Out of a pure curiosity, and in that moment, I went,
Mm.
and it was like this energy of, "Oh shit, stop!" Or I've been caught, or I'm doing something wrong. I was like nearly like, "Oh, fuck!" I was nearly a bit of embarrassment came with it. I just noticed it, and I caught it in that moment, and I was like, "Why? Why do I feel like I've just done something wrong?" Why do I feel like, oh shit, no? And then it was like, yeah, well, okay. When I was in school, the suppression of my expression of laughing, which is my joy, was always shut down. Was always, don't be laughing. And I was always, one of them boys in school that was just like, trying not to laugh, trying not to laugh. When I say that, even I can feel that thing of trying not to laugh. It's like holding back this pure joy that wants to come out. And with that, it's like this constant our joy, our innocence being sucked out of us every moment of it's like stop laughing, stop doing that, stop playing around. And of course, as you said, there's a time and a place for, as you spoke into, the wild energy. There's a time and a place, and there's an in-between space where stuff has to be done. And the same with this expression of joy, but it's like it's when it's so constricted and like almost suffocated. It what I felt like was I inherently felt wrong for laughing in that moment, even though the person who I was having a conversation with was just purely curious as to what I was laughing about. Um, so to bring that in and to bring that through for young people and to let them know whatever expression wants to come, um, to create a space for that, and to allow that to be. Um, yeah, and I think there's a balance between this wild kind of like oh energy that wants to come through, and then what happens is then the complete introspection. It's like almost one or two happen now. What I seen as I was growing up and what I see as I go into schools now is that there's these few that are like, getting into trouble and shouting and being overly angry maybe and throwing tantrums and being loud and bold and da da da. And then there's the other side of that where one just completely shuts in on himself or herself. And it's like, where can we find a balance where you feel comfortable and at ease and not embarrassed of expressing who we are and what we have to say here? Um, yeah, yeah.
I love
I
that.
just love to bring that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's so
I don't know
interesting.
if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, when you say it like that, it's just like, oh yeah, fuck me. School does tell you to stop laughing. Like to try. Yeah, trying not to laugh. That's like a phrase that we use a lot. I'm trying not to laugh. If you think about that, it's like, why would you try not to? That's
Yeah.
the most beautiful experience is laughter, and it's obviously, as they say, the best medicine. But it's also like one of the highest vibrations you can be at is that pure
Mm,
joy, laughter. And I
yeah.
always, personally, if I'm looking at any or listening to anyone that has any or says they have wisdom or spiritual teachings, I usually judge them on like how serious. If they're too serious, I'm like, I'm not going to listen to them. 'Cause they obviously don't know
Mm,
that laughter is the most important. But well, that's my
yeah.
opinion. But
Mm,
yeah, it's amazing how quashed it is in school, and yeah, it's so nice to bring that energy and give them that permission to just
mm,
express whatever is going on for them in that moment, and
mm,
without the judgment, as long as they're not hurting anyone else. It's a safe expression. And yeah, I think what I've realized as well going into the schools is that you see some people shut down, like you said, and you see some of them overly expressive. I suppose probably both of them, yeah, just kind of um, still seeking that connection with others that maybe they didn't get as a child. But I think from going into the schools, it's like the teachers really need a lot of training as well on how to communicate with young people, because a lot of them perpetuate, how they were kind of taught in school, and it was just like stop doing that, stop, stop, stop. It's just constant like, don't, you are wrong for what you're doing. So yeah, I think that's been a realization for us over the last couple of years that we really need to focus on the teachers more than the students, I'd say, because the students will be fine if the teachers allow them to be. But yeah, that's just a bit of a tangent there.
No, I hear you.
Um, but yeah, just on that as well,
Yeah.
in terms of working with young men, I know something that you're looking at and I'm looking at as well, is doing like a rites of passage for young men. And I suppose maybe if you wanted to share your own experience with rites of passage or what that has given you, or like when you went into that experience, what did you find that you were missing?
Mm, yeah. Um, yeah. I was coming strongly as well before I speak into that fully. Um, of with this thing of joy and seeing that then um, carry on in my life and almost be afraid to express my joy. And straight away I can think of then when being a teenager, like being afraid to dance or to express myself in that way without needing like 2 shots of vodka or out of drinks. And it's just like it really feels like them two correlate. It's like when we begin to get older, our suppression of our joy was made feel wrong. So it's like to play around and to dance and to play around and be like a kid and to not really care what others think and to be in that is like a foreign thing when we've been so dimmed of our joy. Um, yeah, just wanted to share that. And that directly relates and correlates here with, yeah, that next question of what I feel like was missing. Well, initially, when you say that straight away in regards to these experiences, rites of passage, modern day initiation, adventures, whatever they maybe want to be called, guidance and support, guidance and support and recognition of me as who I am and a full acceptance of me as who I am. And yeah, knowing that I am an important, special, beautiful human being that has so much to give and so much to offer. Um, and that I have a value and a place in this world in whatever shape or form that looks like. It's like, yeah, that's fully there. And working with men, some men of my age and all even older men, and then seeing it also in younger men, it's that feeling of not really having that, of being worthy of knowing that I am a gift and I have gifts and I'm special. It's like really feeling that. Um, I can definitely say these experiences have gave me that, and yeah, being supported and guided in a way that feels good has also allowed that to come because you're really being seen for who you are and accepted for who you are. Um, yeah, like I spoke the other day and I actually yeah had a giggle about it. I can almost say that over the past few years, I've nearly been an apprentice. I've been putting myself to a degree consciously through learning this craft, learning this work. It's like this is my apprentice of understanding myself and then in the psychology of boys compared to the psychology of a man. And yeah, putting myself in lived experiences to gain the wisdom. It's like I can consume all the knowledge online or wherever it may be. I can read all the books, I can look at all the videos. But like when I put myself in an experience where I'm in it and I'm living it, it's like that's the difference if I feel for me between knowledge and wisdom. It's like I've gained wisdom there because I've actually went through something. Um, it's not a movie that I'm watching, like it's some sort of a warrior movie or whatever it may be, or like these old movies that like alive and that within us. It's like I'm actually being in that. I'm in the movie. This is the movie. Um, and that's what sometimes they have felt like, and it's been like, wow, is this real?
Mm.
Is this a dream? Is this my life? Um, but yeah, and going back to the expression, going back to the expression and being able to express and yeah, really understand and also learn and see other men and hear other men's stories and be able to relate and to be able to go into um yeah, difficulty, uncomfortable challenge also within that. And it's a very big part of like a man's rite of passage or a man's um the initiation is like this challenge to persevere through, knowing bringing on this feeling of knowing that no matter what happens, I can do it. I'm okay. I'm I have the capability and the ability to go through and to come out the other side. Um,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
I think I was getting an image there when you were speaking about feeling like you are in the movie and you're not just reading the books or watching the movie, you're actually
Mm,
a character in the movie. And I suppose just relates to that hero's journey that we're on. And any challenge, then you see it as, oh, this is to test me, this is to make me stronger, this is for me to develop new skills. And like you just look at life in a completely different way, as this kind of like a game or a movie that you're in, and you're the lead character. And I think you don't want to get too caught up into that, because that can lead to maybe a bit of egotism if you're too caught up in like, I am the main character of my movie,
yeah.
which I struggle with at times.
Mm,
But obviously humbling yourself in acts of service as well, to remember that it's not just about you, but in terms of using that as a way to move through the world, I think it's a powerful way of seeing things. And I love that you have that approach. And I remember reading the Alchemist, and the Alchemist, the boy, he was living the journey, and then there was the English guy, I think, was reading the books. And I think it's a mix of the two. Like he needed some of the information from the English fella, and to keep going on the journey. So it's that lovely blend of the two. And and also, yeah, I think, as you said as well, I smiled when you said it. Like, you start to ask yourself, is this actually my life? Like, this is mad. This is, you're stepping into that kind of mythological story, and it becomes magic again. Whereas when I was maybe back working in IT or whatever, everything just seemed a bit flat, or like black and white, and there was no color. But now life is so, it's up and down, and it's like unpredictable, and it's tough, and it's beautiful, but it's, yeah, it's vibrant. It's like a real engaging movie. So yeah, I love how you spoke about that. And yeah, something else that I suppose we haven't really touched on yet is something that for me came up a lot in my initiation that I did a couple of years back with the Mankind Project, and that was around anger and how to express that. And I'm not sure if that's something that you've had to work with, or how have you found your journey with anger, or was that something that was suppressed as well?
yeah, I'd love to hear as well the one main thing you see or feel about these your initiation or initiations in general. Is that one kind of main thing? Um, but yeah, what I can say about anger for sure that has been suppressed and repressed. This utter rage for life in how it is, and the utter rage about being misguided in this world, the rage about that lack of guidance. I've been really with the rage of the lack of father and the fatherlessness in this world. and seeing the boys really want that and seek that, and it does anger me. Um, and then yeah, we go again back to being a kid, and don't be angry. And immediately it's not good, it's wrong, it's unsafe to be angry, to express. And yeah, that can come out, and I speak to the boys, and I always use this example of that can come out then who here has snapped or is snappy with people at times in their life where it doesn't actually feel like there needs to be or it's appropriate. I always use the example of me being snappy with my sister, my younger sisters, and I'm like, uh, should I really do that? Or do I actually feel then a bit bad for doing so? And always people can relate to that, like snapping out. So when we don't, when we can't express the anger, it comes out, it leaks out. Um, so yeah, I can definitely say that more than ever, there was an anger within me for the world, and not even fully being able to put my finger on sometimes exactly what I was angry about, but just angry that things were the way they were, and I was placed in the world in a system that doesn't feel like it's supporting a healthy way for anyone to live freely and yeah, with a with a way that they can be comfortable and in connection. Um,
Mm.
and then there's the anger to to things that happen around me and life that happens around me and people. And yeah, if it's not expressed in a moment of if I'm having a conversation with somebody and it angers me, being able to come back to myself and recognize that and then express express from a place of I am angry at that without completely shutting it off and like not acknowledging it when yeah, when you have that feeling of it's wrong to be angry, not voicing it, not expressing it, like I'm not okay with that, or I'm, that frustrates me, or that makes me angry. Like I was never able to do that ever. So when things would make me angry in my life, I would just be like, oh shit, okay, you know, I'm not gonna let it known that I'm angry because it's not good to be angry. Um, so again, it comes in and in and in and in, and that'll just keep, yeah, building. So yeah. That's what I'd say
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
anger.
and I've noticed as well, yeah, that because I shut down my anger, there was no, I lacked assertiveness and I lacked boundaries because you need that
Yeah.
to express your boundaries and be assertive. You need that connection to your anger, which is, I suppose, your connection to your own personal power and your own
Yes.
sovereignty. So, yeah, it's such an important, and it's something I talk about a lot with young lads and even other men as well, is reconnecting to that anger and reconnecting to that sense of power. Um, and yeah, I was thinking there, another journey that we've kind of done together recently was Shadow Hunters with Niall, and I think
Mm.
that was such an interesting journey into the shadow parts of ourselves that we've suppressed or denied, and you know,
Mm.
and that I suppose is where a lot of the gold is when we go into those places.
Mm.
Just to touch on just shadow work for, yeah, people who maybe haven't heard of it before or delved into it. It is just looking at those kind of unconscious beliefs and um, patterns of behavior that we have that I suppose we haven't recognized because maybe they were there since childhood and it's just part of who we are now. And it can often be self-sabotaging beliefs and behaviors. And yeah, when we actually do the work to go into them, it can be, yeah, deeply healing and transformative and, yeah, change a lot. But and
Mm.
now it's cool because it's cool to see you as well moving on to this next stage that we're doing with Niall into the Sacred Kingship, um,
mm,
because I'm going to be
mm,
doing that as well. And I think, once you start this path of, connecting to what it is for you to be a man and to really step into your sovereignty as a man, the kind of journey pulls you along. And I feel like we're both kind of walking this path at the moment, and it's interesting to see where we'll go. But yeah, I just wanted
mm,
to maybe speak about your
mm.
experience doing that work with shadow hunters, and then moving into this next stage of
Mm.
the Sacred Kingship program. How's that been for you?
Yeah, yeah, that question of what it is to be a man. The unknown answer to that question. I always state that going in with the young lads, like I don't fucking not here to say I have the answers, but it's a subject that feels like it needs a lot of light shining on it so that man can find out for himself who he is. Um, but yeah, the shadow. And I had this conversation recently with somebody, and it was like, I would actually be doing you a disservice if I didn't say that it was about gaining freedom within and gaining freedom in my life. And I was like, okay, I will be doing you a disservice if I didn't say to you that probably the main thing that has helped me transform and the main thing I feel like can help many transform is looking at those parts of us that we replace, that we hide from the world, that we hide from other people, whether it be our fears, whether it be the things that we are deeply embarrassed about, whether it be the things that we're deeply scared of, or the things that really make us feel sad. Um, and as you said, the unconscious beliefs, but it's them parts that are hidden, repressed, and denied. The parts of us that we deny within ourselves. And it was beautiful to gain a deeper understanding on the golden shadows as well that are within all. And that goes to what I was speaking about at the beginning of this part of us that want to play and, be in that innocence of, yeah, just being a human, the innocence of just being a human. We were born into this world, precious, beautiful, perfect, innocent. What changed? When did that change? Only when the world started putting all their expectations and pressures and ways and teaching on us, and yeah, it made us feel like that wasn't the case. Um, so the shadow work feels like, yeah, essential to my life. It has been essential to my life. It has been a massive part. And yeah, that little boy that lives in me and that lives in every man that I see. And what I can say is what I feel like I'm doing is learning to be the father that that little boy always wanted and coming back and fathering them parts of me, them parts of me that needed fathering at the time where he didn't receive fathering
Mm,
in the way that feels right now.
yes. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's such an important point, that you have to, as a man, you have to let go of the blame that you have towards your own father or your own mother or anyone, even people that bullied you. You need to let that go in order to step into your true power, I believe. Because if you keep holding on to this blame, resentment, and it's not easy. I'd maybe still hold some resentments towards some people that I'm working on, but it's like until we let that go and start to reparent ourselves, then we're never fully sovereign. We're always going to be attached to that experience in a way that is disempowering. So it's like, yeah, part of stepping into, being a man is taking responsibility. Like, yeah, fair enough. I didn't get the maybe ideal, parenting that I would have wanted as a child. Like nobody probably did, but now it's up to me to, yeah, reparent myself and be there with my inner child, sit with him, ask him what's he need, and whenever he's getting triggered, and then, yeah, giving that to him. And like it is fascinating when you actually open up people to the idea of the inner child that lives within us all. And in the course with shadow hunters, we like took the time, like a week or two, to just sit with the inner child And yeah, it's amazing when you really sit with them and see that part of you, and we start listening to that part, and it doesn't try and sabotage you then, because it was, it can pull you back if it feels you're moving too fast or different things. So yeah, just such a good point there about being the father that you wish you had. It's
Mm.
powerful. It's Yeah, I can just feel that might be
Mm.
emotional for some people, but that's a part of stepping into this role as a man.
Mm. That's yeah, that actually there's a quite a big part of my journey and the journey of many men is becoming that father
Mm.
that I wish I had fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, what needs to be done to do that? Um, yeah, and that thing you speak about with the blame and blaming the world, and I definitely was fully in that of blaming this system that we live in, blaming the government, blaming the school system, and blaming everything externally outside of me, blaming my parents, blaming where I lived, my fucking air code, blaming everything. It's like, yeah, okay, I can acknowledge all of that and yeah, be with that, but essentially, yeah, I have to take the responsibility. It's like one scale to the other, like the victim and the blaming to the I'm gonna take full responsibility now for where I'm at in my life and why it is the way it is and why, yeah, why I am where I am. And yeah, taking the responsibility to shift that. So yeah, it was a really beautiful journey we got to go on and shout out to Mr. Noel Graham. Thank you very much for creating that space. Um, yeah, yeah, like when you were speaking there about, seeing what your little child inside you needed, that little boy. And essentially then from then coming back to where you're at right now and just loving the shit out of him in whatever way he needed to be cared for back then. Um, and yeah, you're you're loving the shit out of yourself because that boy is still within. He's
Mm.
still playing out. He's still, yeah, enacting and playing out in life when he's not recognized, when he's not seen, when he's not acknowledged, when he's not being given the space to be heard and be like, okay, that's what he needed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And I feel he's the key to that joy and that, you know,
mm,
happiness and laughter. And if you're not connected to him, it may be harder for you to really tap into that natural well of joy. And I actually have
mm,
I've worked with a few men who've, you try and do the inner child meditation or connect back to the inner child, and there's just nothing there. There's no connection. They can't even see the
mm,
inner child. They've so disassociated from him. But it's a matter of just, if that's the case, it's a matter of just, you know, coming back and visualizing that child. I usually say do the one where you visualize your inner child sitting in your room
mm,
when you're where you used to live as a child, and go into that room and ask him, is it okay to come in and sit with him? And he might say no for the first week. He might not want you to come into the room, and then eventually he might let you into the room, and he might let you talk to him, and he might let you sit with him and just be with him. And I think that's a very powerful meditation to do for people, and it's just rebuilding that relationship with the inner child, and maybe not expecting him to be like, "Oh, welcome back" straight away, because maybe you've
yeah,
neglected him for so long.
mm,
But when you do
yeah,
that, I did one recently, and I've done it before, but I did it again recently, and I just really reconnected to that joy and that, as you spoke about earlier, it was like giving him that recognition for who he was, that maybe he never felt he got. But so I could give that to him.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, and I think when we do this work, it allows us to step into that role of mentor for others. That once we, can father ourselves, and then we can start stepping into mentoring these young men.
yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah. Hey, you mentioned there about some of the men you've worked with feeling somewhat dissociated from that part of them or their childhood essentially as well. Um, yeah, just question that comes is like, why? Why, Cormac? Why do you think that men are dissociated in general and maybe feeling like that disconnect to themselves in life and their own path and why they're here and why is that disconnection there? Why is that dissociation? Why is it that men maybe feel like they're not at that level of self-awareness or yeah,
Mm.
that they could be?
Yeah. And for me, I'm sure there's many different reasons, but the main one that's coming to mind is like shame. I think just we
Mm,
shame parts of ourselves, and then we just completely disconnect from that part. Um, and maybe as well being embarrassed for being the sensitive person that we are and not wanting to show that. So I know for me, I when I was like 7, I think I kind of shut down that sensitive part and just tried to show, strength, and just tried to show, I'm hanging out with the cool kids now. I actually remember consciously choosing to hang out with the who I thought were the cooler kids at the time, and I didn't. I stopped hanging out with the people I actually enjoyed hanging out with. At the age of 7, I think. So yeah, it's just sad that that can happen, that shift, and it's all a fear of not being accepted or not being accepted for who you are. That's more sensitive side,
mm,
that child. But yeah, I suppose everyone's journey is different with that. But it's the important part is to look into that and see for yourself why did that disconnection happen, and how can maybe heal that or come back into connection. I know some of the work I do is with soul retrieval, so like retrieving that soul part that walked away or stepped away either in a traumatic situation or else like that for me was just a conscious decision of shutting down the sensitive boy. Um,
yeah,
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 and
yeah.
yeah, on terms of something else I wanted to talk about, I know we talk about Niall a lot on this podcast, but I suppose for me, he's really helping guide part of my journey into these practices, whether it's around sexuality or embodiment practices, or connecting deeper to the earth and that sense of masculinity. He's been a great guide for me, and we're moving into the Sacred Kingship container in September that he's holding space for. And I suppose just for other men who are maybe interested in some of this work and they feel there's more in them and there's more power there, there's more strength that they feel they want to unlock. Um, yeah, maybe we could speak. I don't want to speak too much about it because I'm sure it'll be a bit of a surprise for everyone that's joining it. But yeah, maybe just speak into why you feel you want to be part of this container and this initiation by the feminine, which is another kind of initiation.
Yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah, what I was even hearing when you were saying there, speaking about, that part of you that you shut off when you were 7, that sensitive part initially straight away was coming to me is that feminine part,
Mm.
that part that is sensitive and feels. And yeah, that feminine part of us has been and was for me shut off. And that is our creativity, that is our passion, and that is our flow, that is our, yeah, the part of us that goes in. It's actually the dark, yeah, feeling. Um, and I see, yeah, there's so much there with that, and in regards to the feminine, and with my own self and my own journey, the lack of recognition, acknowledgement to the feminine and to women and the earth itself. And yeah, that boy psychology that I've looked into compared to the man of like, yeah, he wants to extract and take from the feminine
Mm.
rather than, love and nurture and give to and honor and recognize. Um, and I definitely played that quite often, wanting to take and use and objectify and almost look down upon. And that's through years of this patriarchal way and the disconnect from our own feminine within. Um, also wanted to be mothers, um, and seeking that maternal mothering from women, then going into different relationships. I can recognize it in a previous relationship of wanting that mothering all the time, like replacing a girlfriend with a mother. It's like, no, that doesn't want to happen. That does not make me feel like a fucking man. Or it feels like an unhealthy dynamic for me. Um, so going into this, moving into the feminine part of myself and yeah, learning how to hold and nurture and love and yeah, knowing that I can be soft and allow my waters to flow, allow my tears to be. Um, and yeah, so the sacred kingship I'm looking forward to. When I heard it, I was like, okay, boom, that feels really appropriate, really, really necessary. Yeah, yeah, it really does.
Yeah, and I feel
I feel,
sorry, I just feel like sometimes when I use the word king in for people who
mm,
maybe aren't doing men's work, they're like, "Oh, who do you think you are?" sort of thing.
yeah,
Just to be clear that it's, I suppose Pat Dibley did speak about this on another podcast we did, but it's that sense of sovereignty within. So your inner king connected to that, and you rule over your own kingdom, whatever that is for you. It's not about that patriarchal king that we think about that rules over others. It's being connected to your own sense of um, direction and sense of purpose and sense of vision. So you can be a force for good in the world. And another thing that I've heard before about the king is the true king is the servant. The true king serves the mother. The mother serves the earth, and it serves its people. So as we, move into these containers, it's moving into getting that balance of our masculine and our feminine with this feminine initiation and bowing to the wisdom of the feminine and saying, yes, you can chop off my ego head and I will, bow to you and serve you. Um,
mm,
because I'm aware that, my ego doesn't know as much as the great feminine wisdom does. So I think that's where we've kind of went astray maybe in the patriarchal culture that we have. It's very ego dominant, but we've lost that connection to the earth, and you can see that because we're destroying the earth. But yeah, I
yeah,
think it's going to be a powerful container.
yeah. Um, yeah, I hear you. I feel like it's a very necessary to work also with women.
Mm.
Um, it's like it's what brings the wholeness of like we work with men and we're with men and we're in that space all the time. It's like very boom masculine and it can bring in the feminine, of course, but there's nothing actually like being with uh, yeah, a woman, a woman who is holds that deep magical essence. And yeah, just to touch on the king. It's like we're all fucking kings. We're all our own kings of our own kingdoms. And yeah, that part that's like I'm the center of the universe and it's just me and da da da. It's like that's kind of the unhealthy king who wants to extract and take and make everything for himself. And it's like that sovereign part of themselves that builds the kingdom within themselves, but also wants to look after, as you said, its people and the world and everything and the women, the children. It's like how am I here to serve? Um, and how can I do so? What's fully serving myself? Um, but yeah, the feminine, the women, yeah, like I, I was so absorbed and lived through the, I suppose, the showing of ways and teaching that, yeah, women are lesser. And yeah, really, it feels like for me, coming back full circle to recognizing us all as equal, but like recognizing them fully and the feminine rising also within men. Um, because that's big disconnection. It feels like the feminine rising within men needs to take place, and sort of feel like this is going to happen within this container. Um, and I know there's going to be aspects as well where in regards to sexuality, and that is another big topic and part of um the disconnection. It feels like for myself anyway, and other men. Um, and how can we use that and fully, yeah, know that power and the magic that that can be. Um, and that's a whole different topic that we could get into right now, and the distortion of sexuality from porn and the distortion of looking at porn of how women should be and the objectification within that. And yeah, so much. Um, so I know that that's going to be a big part of that journey, and it's being a part of my own journey now. And yeah, like reconnecting to that part of me, which is also my creativity, which is also the part of me that brings stuff and births stuff into the world and has, yeah, that power to do so. Um, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it feels essential, and yeah, feels really fucking good.
Yeah, and it's great to see you, continuing to step into these spaces and do the work. And like, I don't think we'll ever be finished, doing that work on ourselves, but it's also finding that balance of giving back as well and enjoying life as well in between. I know after Shadowhunters, I was like, I'm taking a fucking break, just to enjoy the summer. But at the same time, that self reflection is always continuing and
Mm.
going deeper. And yeah, it does bring out that more easeful life when we do the hard work. So yeah, just want to honor you for stepping into these spaces, and it's a pleasure to be going through some of this journey with you and seeing your growth and
Mm.
seeing you step into that unique potential that you have to support others as well. So yeah, and in terms of your own work, obviously you do the workshops with Wolf Academy, and you're a trained coach and stuff. Do you have anything at the moment, if young people are listening to this, or even other men of any age, I suppose? Do you have anything going on at the moment, or what's your kind of focus at the moment?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. There also. Um, I really honor any man who's willing to yeah, look at the wars that go on within his own heart and have the courage to step in and want to, yeah, make change and be willing to actually do it rather than just want it. Um, and just to speak into something you said there about, this work will continue on. And I think, yeah, for sure, there's always things happening and life happening. But I feel like you learn to hold yourself, and you learn to be able to deal with life as it comes, and to be able to deal with, you know, triggers and emotions. And you learn to know yourself and yeah, actualize yourself and realize it. So yeah, it feels like you come to a place where you're able to then navigate life, from a much, yeah, easier place. Um, so although it may always continue, but you actually know how to deal with everything as it comes. Um, so yeah, just wanted to say that.
Mm.
And yeah, then in regard to my own work and what I'm doing, well, I have been for quite a while just here, open, ready to receive support, guide, and be whatever of service to anybody. Um, that that sees it, that has some sort of a draw towards me, and it's always been out there. And I currently work with a couple of men on a one-to-one basis, and to put myself a little bit more out there for that, that's there, that's open. And we do some of the work that we've spoken into all here, and yeah, then connecting to where we want to go and how we're going to get there and our greater vision of life. Um, and yeah, the blockages and stuff that come along the way, learning how to hold ourselves, learning how to know how to navigate and deal with that ourselves, so that when they come, it's not like we don't need mommy or this, that, or the other. It's great to have support, guidance, and mentoring, but we can come to a place where we feel like, okay, I've got myself, I can trust myself to deal with this. And that's where I want to bring Jan and whoever works with me too. Um, yeah, and dealing with our wounding, the BBTRS breathwork, biodynamic breathwork and trauma release that I done a year course on. Um, Gave me a great understanding on, yeah, the distortions that happen within the blueprint of our nervous system. That's what I like to say instead of trauma sometimes, because it freaks people out, especially younger people. It's like, oh, I don't have any trauma. It's like, what about all them distortions in your yeah. Um, but yeah, like that's there. That's part of my work. At the moment, I am, yeah, supporting a lot of work, and yeah, kind of last year was doing a lot constantly, a lot, and this year it's all shifted. Everything has just shifted, um, completely. But yeah, I'm putting together, and it's been building momentum. It was birthed, seeded last year, the year before, and it feels like it's coming to life now. This experience of a wild adventure for teen boys, and so we can bring them in to look at all of this, and yeah, to go on an adventure, to have fun as well, and engage in activities and be part of a group. I think that alone sometimes is enough, and then give and offer that ongoing mentorship and guidance. So that is being birthed into the world by me now. And yeah, so anybody who's like, well, I've come across so many people that's like, it's anything for my teens, my young boys, he's coming a young man. So yeah, yeah, that's happening. Um, and then yeah, I also offer the BBTRS breathwork trauma informed sessions. I don't have any workshops, events, anything coming up as we speak right now. So yeah. But I'm usually just like to say, if anybody feels drawn to working with me and my energy for some reason, it's like, yeah, I'm here to support.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, cheers, Barry. I like that. I think people definitely, yeah, the right people will come to you when they, yeah, feel that resonance with your energy, and I'm sure they'll get, yeah, a lot of benefits from working with you just from knowing you and experiencing some of your breath work as well at one point. But yeah, thanks a million for coming on to the podcast, and yeah, really excited to hear more about your wild adventure for teens, and I think it's something, yeah, so needed for the young
Yeah,
man.
let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll chat more about that again.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been brilliant having you on and sharing some of your journey and the wisdom you've picked up, and yeah, I'm excited to see how your journey unfolds and see we'll be doing this work for many years, I'm sure. So I look forward to
yeah.
seeing how it unfolds. But yeah, thanks again, brother, and we will chat to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you. And yeah, excited to see how everything unfolds for you too, brother. Yeah, yeah.
Cheers, Barry. Slán go fóill.
Slán go fóill. Talk to you soon.